Welcome everyone. The video you're going to watch right now is going to be going over how to make the outside holder, which is this component here, in the assembly of the actual lockbox. So, if you follow along with me, that'd be great. We're going to go through it fairly quick, and I'll just try to explain my logic behind it. Now, if I look at my bill of materials, you're going to notice there's various dimensions on here. And as we build it, if I need to find more dimensions, I will just dimension it as we build it. That way you guys are all ready to rock and roll. I'm going to begin my plane by starting it right here and then kicking it each direction. And let's get after it. Here's the part before we get started. So let's go into new. Let's go to a standard part. What I'm going to do right away is I'm going to do a file save as, and where I need to save this at in my OneDrive, like you all are already doing, is in drafting, 3D printing, weekly projects, and this one is going to be called WP6. There's various projects that we're going to do throughout the year, and this is going to be a 6-week project. Now, I have other videos of other projects from puzzles and, hinges and whatnot. Christmas ornaments and Halloween ornaments and all that fun stuff, but we're going to do the 6-week project. Inside here, we're going to make 2 different folders. One's going to be called parts, one's going to be called assemblies. Now remember, you've got to have all of this done in your OneDrive. So we got parts, assemblies, and drawings. We're going to be in parts. This one's going to be called BO outside holder. I want to make sure our parts are all named appropriately before we get started, and I'm going to start on this X and Y plane here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to steal dimensions from this to kind of gravitate our way through making this part. I can tell already that I need to be 29-30 seconds with 3/4. So we're going to come into here. I'm going to start one. I'm going to type 29-30 seconds and 3/4. Now remember, you can do decimal or fraction, but either way, when you pull up, they'll show your fraction, but they'll keep them in their decimal format. Alright, so now that I have that part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick it going forward 2 3/8. So let's finish our sketch. Let's kick it forward 2 3/8. I know the decimal format, so I'm going to go and type it. Now notice I did the whole thing, but remember I've got to kick it going back this direction too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the entire sketch first before I extrude it going the other way. So let's go back to the original sketch. And now what I want to do is I want to bring up the overall diameter, which is another circle of 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to put in something with 2, 4, 6, 8 sides of a polygon. So 1.5 inches, here we go. And I'm going to go right underneath my rectangle. I'm going to click on my polygon, and I'm going to choose 8 sides, and I'm going to choose the about, subscribed, or prescribed, or subscribed, however you want to pronounce that. And there's that. Now, as I'm staring at this, I can tell already that this will have to be another sketch. This will be another sketch on top. We're just about done. Crazy enough. This project goes fairly quick. Now that I have that, I'm going to go bring this back up. I'm going to select the entire thing. But this time I'm going to flip it this way, and I'm only going a certain distance. And that distance is going to be 3/8. So we're going to type in our 3/8 here. And there's that. Now what I want to do is I want to get rid of my visibility on my sketch. Now I can tell when you're using original sketches because the sketch 1 will come up above however many extrusions you use with that original sketch. And what I want to do now is I want to draw something out on this surface here. So I'm going to go ahead and click the view that I want. I'm going to choose my right side. I'm going to select this plane, but I'm going to do an offset from that surface. And as you can tell, it's going to want to kick it this way, so I'm going to have to type in a negative amount. So I'm going to come back into here, and I'm going to see that I've got to come back 7 64ths. 7 64ths back. So Control A, negative 7 64ths. It kicks it back. Now there's a sketch here that's come back that distance. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. Now, remember, that sketch is not on the surface. It's inside here. And right now, that's what I'm drawing on. So what I want to do is I want to do something in my view called slicing the graphics so I can actually see what I'm drawing on. And I want to go back to my sketch, and I want to project the geometry of this said object. And go back to my drawing. And now I want to draw essentially this right here. So I can tell already that this thing is centered in the middle, and it's an 1/8 inch wide. Now I'm 41/64 offset from here, and that's to the actual perpendicular plane of my X and Y center. All right, so 41/64. Now the cool thing is we can just draw lines. We don't really care. And then on top of that, after we're done drawing lines, we can dimension our stuff after the fact. So we know from here to there it needs to be 41/64. And we know that from here to here it needs to be an 1/8 inch. Now, I also need to extend my stuff so it touches. And then I want to trim my object. I want to trim it here too. But I need this thing to be centered. So I'm going to do a vertical constraint. And I'm going to select this plane with the center. Now, the reason why I was able to do vertical constraint was because my cube is orientated in the actual plane that I'm actually drawing my horizontal and vertical constraints. Sometimes if your cube, like if that right is rotated like this, you think you're doing vertical, but in reality, you're most likely doing a different set of planes because you got to remember the way your cube is rotated. So if you're having problems, that could be one of your issues. All right, so let's go back to this. We have come in 1/8. We are centered. We are 41/64 up. We know that we come back this. Now I need to extrude that 17/64. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my sketch. And I'm going to extrude this now. And I'm going to kick the direction. And I think we said 17 or 7/64 maybe. Let's double check. 17/64, my bad. So 17/64, and I'm just going to accept it. Now, I have a plane here, and if I can rotate this, you're going to notice that it's at the very front of this object. So I don't want to see it. Let's get rid of the visibility. Now, instead of just keep making these planes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn this into a rectangular pattern of a position by doing the sketch. Now, if I can get this screen out of my way, there we go. And now, I've selected my feature, not a solid pattern. A solid pattern would be doing this entire shape and then flipping it on a plane. But I'm looking to do a feature, and the feature that I'm choosing is that. In the direction, I got to choose the direction I want to go. And remember, how many did we have? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need to be 15/30 seconds from front to front. So we're going to go 5. Oh, sorry. 5 of those. And I need to be 15/30 seconds. So, there it is. Now, the real cool part about this is once I do that, it's really pretty self-explanatory. Now, before I start doing more, like doing my fillets and whatnot, I might want to put this arrow on. And this arrow looks like it's centered to the top to represent the actual alignment of all the pins, like you guys can see here. So if I got rid of some of this visibility of these here, you would see them needing to line up in order to actually open the lockbox. All right, so we're going to go back to the sketch. I'm going to select it once. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say new sketch. I'm going to project the geometry of that plane. And now what I want to do is I just want to draw something first. Now remember, nothing really has to be specific on length because we're going to dimension it. I know I need to be an 1/8 inch and we're 5/16 long. So let's offset this. It's got to be an 1/8 inch, so half of an 1/8 inch is a 16th. And then I know that my arrow, remember, I'm just drawing randomly. I really don't care. the distance here needs to be 5/16. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this stuff away so I can actually look at what I'm looking for. Boom. I also got to make sure that it's vertically centered. So remember, my cube is right. I'm going to do vertical constraint. I'm going to select, hey, this needs to be constrained with that, and it shifted it. Now I'm going to give it the arrow. You can do whatever you want. If you want to do an arrow, you want to do a different symbol, go ahead and do it. Perfectly fine with me. Let's come back to here. My arrow height, let's see, is a 30-second high. So now that I'm done with my sketch, I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to extrude this a 30-second high. Oops. My bad. Let's extrude one more time. Let's go here. Let's go there. Let's type in a 30-second. That is done. Okay. Let's get over to here. Let's find out our fillets. Oh, it looks like the lock pin fillets are a 64th, which just go around here. Notice they don't go around the actual side here. They only go around this. And as we kind of navigate our way through this assembly and building of each component, you'll see the reasons why I don't fillet that. I need tight tolerances, and I want to make sure that things are sliding on nice and snug. So we're going to go in a 64th fillets around these, and then at the same time, I'm going to do this here. So get back into it. And we're just going to select this and those, and we're just going to kind of go fast. Now, if you really wanted to be quick, you would have put these fillets on before we arrayed it, but we didn't do that, which is okay. There's that, and then I think there's one other fillet. It looks like both of these are a 30-second, and the inside of this is a 30-second. You can't quite see it in that view, but I designed it so I know. So we're going to type in a 30-second first. We're going to go to inside, and now I'm just going to go ahead and just start having fun and clicking on some stuff here. You'll notice I might be moving a little bit quicker, but that's okay. That's the best thing about these videos. You guys can pause at any time you want and put in what you need and slow down the video, do what you have to do to get everything drawn up. All right, so there's that. I'm good here. Everything looks good. Now, before I get going with anything else, what I want to try to do next is I want to make sure that my cube is orientated in the right view that I'm looking for. Now, in my drawing, I have my cube on the other side, my actual arrow. You can, if you choose to, you can always rotate these by just clicking on them. And then if you want the back to be the front, just right-click it and say, hey, I want that to be the front by setting the curved view as. And if I want my isometric, remember isometric is the front right top. If you don't set that, when I hit home, it's going to default back to what it originally came as. So here's my ISO view that I'm looking for, and that's going to be the actual home view. They don't label it as an isometric view, but that's kind of what we shoot for. All right, our model is done. Let's throw some color on it. Now, what I always like, a general rule when I'm actually designing something, and as I'm going through the preliminary designs, like let's say the 5 design phases, I always like to do my extrusions with different types of things, whether it's shapes or it's models or fillets. So I always like to make something a very generic, noticeable color, like orange. And then I like to, make things a little bit different and then say, hey, the inside is going to be a red. That way I can see it when it pops. And I don't know why, but my fillets are always blue. They just seem to show for me, whether that's with old age or whatever it is. It just makes it easy for me to see. Now, I'll go ahead and make this in my arrow by holding Control and selecting both of them. And I'm going to make them both pink. Now, as you guys can tell, I did the extrusion, but I didn't do the array. So I got to make sure I select that too, and I change that to pink too. All right, so here we are. This is the one component of the outside holder, and I've saved it in my appropriate spot. If you want to put on different sketches or different things on these instead of an arrow, or if you want to put your initials, just start a new sketch, put on, some cool stuff, and just start, I don't know, say your name or whatever you really want to do. Change the the font size by selecting it and then changing it. And notice it's really big. So an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch might be too big. So let's change it back to an 1/8 inch. You got to remember this thing's fairly small. And I also want to make sure that I'm centered middle justification. And then I want to align this. Now remember, this is all different than what I'm doing. I'm just kind of showing you different various things you guys can do. You guys can put logos on there. You could do kind of really whatever your heart desires. I'm going to do the 3/16. That looks pretty good. I'm going to finish it. And then I'm going to extrude that surface coming out. So it looks like I'm going to bring that out, 30-second too. And the cool part is when this thing prints, it's going to print pretty cool. Now, one thing I will say though, if you are going to print this and you want to put something on here, our best printing options without having to print without support material, this model needs to go in. So I'm going to flip it to a cut because I don't know, when it prints the support material underneath here, it's hard to chipping this stuff out. It's just a lot more work. And our printers have the capabilities of going at 90 degrees and holding that up. Just with a little file, you can get it done. So we'll flip the direction to make sure it's cutting. I'm going to say OK, and then of course there's that. So yeah, this is your first part. As you watch the videos as they kind of go through, you're going to notice that we will eventually start assembling this thing. But here is your very first part. I hope you liked the video. Make sure you save your stuff in the appropriate spots and reach out to me if you have any questions, whether it's in class or it's on any platform. All right, thanks guys.